Yes, you made it. You're not late. That's good. Hello and welcome back to AR-77. The gun we have on the table today is the HK USP by Umarex. This is a 4.5mm BB shooting CO2 powered blowback replica air pistol of the formidable HK USP. Now, I've done a review of this gun, but I wanted to look at it in a bit more depth because I kind of did the review and then I've referenced it a couple of times in other videos, but I wanted to take the opportunity to get this out and have a real good close look at it again, because I know that it's a gun that myself, I love to handle. I love to kind of hold this gun. I love to shoot it, and I know that you guys like to see it as well. It's a really good gun. Let me zoom out a little bit further, and then I've got a bit more wiggle room, and we can crack on with the video. Okay, that's much better. So the USP, let me just pop that back there, or Universal Self-Loading Pistol. It actually stands for something else, which I'll put up on screen, but I'm not going to attempt to pronounce because I will get it wrong, and I risk alienating half my audience if I do that. So this is the USP, the Universal Self-Loading Pistol, as opposed to the VP9, which is also available through Umarex, another HK product, which is the Volks pistol, or the People's pistol. Just give you a flash of that there. Let me show it you properly. Lovely gun. HK VP9, really nice. Sometimes called the SP9, I think, in different parts of the world. Something like that. But anyway, back to the star of the show, the HK USP. So this was originally designed to replace the P7, which I'll show you just here. So the USP was designed as a replacement for that and introduced in 1993 as the USP 40 because it was chambered in 40 cal. Then came the USP 9, which was a 9mm, and later the USP 45. And it was adopted in 1994 by the German military and designated the P8. So let me show you a picture there of the P8, or the USP in its kind of P8 outfit or uniform, if you will. When they brought out the P8, there was a few minor changes made, which included a kind of a reversed safety or decocker on the P8 down. You can see on here, you've got kind of up is kind of safe, and then down is kind of ready to fire. On the P8, it was up for fire and down for safe, which is the opposite. Also, the S and F letters. See here on the actual USP, let me just get that to focus. Come on. Okay, well, it's not going to focus for me, but as you can see there, if you can see, the F is at the bottom and the S is above on the actual kind of control switch there. For the P8, those letters are printed onto the frame instead of the lever itself. Again, the picture will be there just to kind of illustrate that point. Also, I think in the magazine of the P8, there was a kind of a transparent window there so that you could see like a window into the mag, allowing you to see your ammo, and you had a kind of a visible marker as to how much ammo you had remaining. A compact version was adopted by German police forces with a kind of a spurred hammer there, so the hammer didn't function just the same as it does here. The compact version was also adopted by the INS in America, as well as Homeland Security, plus police and armed forces all around the world. Let's have a look at that. What a fantastic looking gun. It's so chunky, so square. I'll come back to the air pistol version shortly. 1994 also saw the introduction of polygonal barrels, similar to Glock, which also kind of used polygonal barrels, as opposed to the more kind of traditional land and groove style of rifling. Let me put up a picture again to show you the difference. So land and groove is the kind of more traditional style where you've got the twisting through the barrel. You've got that rifling, and it's kind of the land is the higher parts, as you'll see on the picture, and the groove being the bit between, kind of like a trench between those sort of land elements. Polygonal barrels, however you want to pronounce it, polygonal even. I might have said that before. That's not quite the same sort of shape as you can see in the picture or the image that I've got up there. It's just a different style of rifling the barrel. But actually the P8, the USB P8 that was used by the forces and things and the police in Germany, that kind of retained that more traditional style of the land and groove, or lands and groove, sometimes people refer to it as. So notable details of the HK USP. You've got this kind of octagonal slide. If that was continued all the way around, there'd be 8 sides to that. As you can see, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if it was to go all the way around. So that's why I call it kind of octagonal. You've got a recessed barrel on the air gun version there, but you can see the internal actual barrel there, and obviously because you can field strip this gun, you can lock that back and you can see kind of into there. I'll talk a bit more about that in a short while. You've also got an extra recoil spring. Let me show you a picture of what the USP kind of recoil setup looks like. There's an extra recoil spring which is designed to kind of provide longevity and prevent wear and tear on the gun itself. And I think that a similar design was also adopted by Glock from kind of the Gen 4 onwards. Now, as one of you was asking, what sort of things can I fit on this rail? It is a proprietary rail. It's specific to the USP. So you can get adapters that turn it into a kind of a Picatinny rail. But I have to say, I do quite like the kind of profile of that. You've got a rail at the front of the gun, but it keeps a nice clean line. I suppose it's the traditionalist in me. If I get the VP9, if I bring that back up here, you can see that similar to a lot more kind of modern firearms, you've got that kind of Picatinny rail up front there, which is, I guess, par for the course. That's what you want if you want a laser or an attachment on the front of there, torch or something like that. And yet, I mean, you might say, well, it looks nice and aggressive at the front there. I quite like it. And I agree with you. But as I said, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and I also quite like that kind of smooth front there and smoother, cleaner, squared off profile to the USP. As you can see, the USP has quite a large opening here in the trigger guard, so you've got no problem wearing gloves with this pistol, which makes sense if it's going to be used by armed forces or police or military, etc., etc. If you're wearing operator's gloves, you want to be able to get easily onto that trigger. What else can I tell you? Well, I can tell you that this was developed at the same time as the SOCOM Mark 23. I'll show you again a picture of that, kind of the Special Forces weapon used in the States, and underwent kind of similar testing. During testing, a bullet was deliberately lodged in the barrel and another cartridge was fired into the obstructing bullet, the second bullet kind of clearing the barrel. So apart from a bit of a bulge on the gun itself, the pistol was tested for accuracy, and the group measured, I think it was less than 4 inches, a range of about 25 meters. This isn't all off the top of my head. I've done a little bit of reading so that I know this, so that I can bring you a bit of information about this gun. But some really interesting kind of facts there around the robustness of the actual firearm itself. And I should also take a bit of time to tell you about the kind of the variants that this came in. Obviously, with the air gun here, with the air pistol version, we don't know if this is a replica of the 40 cal or the 9mm or whatever. There's nothing on it that tells you about the caliber of this particular gun other than the actual caliber of the air pistol itself. You can see there, caliber 4.5mm .177. What we do know is that this is a replica of a variant 1 HK USP. I nearly said Sig Sauer then. How do we know it's a variant 1? Well, let me tell you about variants. So the variants number between kind of 1 to 10. Variant 1, just like the air gun here, is a double action, single action variant with a decocker and a safety lever. So that means you can shoot it double action, just like that, or you can cock the hammer and you shoot it single action. Yeah, you can also put it on safe like that. So if you wanted to carry it like a 1911 or something like that, you could rack the slide, pop it on safe, and keep it kind of cocked and locked like that, and you're not going to be able to pull the trigger or drop the hammer, as it were, until you knock it off safe, and then you can do it. You can shoot like that. Also, as I said, in variant 1, it has the working decocker as well. Okay, so that's the variant 1. Variant 2 is exactly the same as that. It's just that the non-ambidextrous kind of control switch or lever, if you will, is on the right-hand side of the gun. Okay, so variant 3, you've got variant 1, variant 2. Variant 3 is double action, single action. So it's double action like that, or again, single action. You can either cock it with the hammer or rack the slide. It does have the decocking lever, so if you're ready to go, you can decock it, but it doesn't have a working safety on variant 3. The variant 4 is identical, but that lever, that operating lever or that control lever, is on the right hand side. I'll try and put a picture up here so that you've got an idea of what all these different ones kind of look like. The variant 5 had the bobbed hammer, so that was kind of taken down like that. You're not going to be able to sort of cock it like that. So it was a kind of a double action only gun, and it did have the safety lever. The variant 6 is the same, but with the lever on the other side, as you might expect. The variant 7 is the kind of the law enforcement modification, the LEM, if you will, and that had no control lever at all. That was developed for the US government, so it was called the LEM, or law enforcement modification, and it was a double action only model without a control lever. And they did all the little things to it, like they reduced the trigger weight, and I think the trigger reset was made slightly shorter as well. So you've got a picture of that on the left. Variant 9 was a double action, single action, but with a safety lever and no decocker. So rather than the variant 3, which had a decocker but no safety, the variant 9 and the variant 10 with the lever on the other side was double action, single action, had the safety lever, but didn't have a working decocker. So that's variants 1 through to 7, and then 9 and 10. But what about variant 8? Well, if you look at Wikipedia, it says the variant 8 was never produced. Other people say that the variant 8 is the variant 7, but with the night sights. Some say that the variant 8 is actually just the P8, the version that was developed for and used by the German police that I kind of described before, with the bobbed hammer and the transparent magazine, if you will. So when it comes to the airgun version, like I said, it's not apparent which caliber, but we do know it's a variant 1 because it has a fully functional control lever. You've got double action, single action. You have a safety there, and you also have that working decocker. So that would tell me this is based on the variant 1. It's a big gun. It's a heavy gun. This is metal slide, metal trigger, metal hammer. There's a lot of metal in here, and the magazine is fully metal, really sturdy magazine, really chunky thing in your hand there. Be very realistic feel to that magazine, I would expect. So it's a polymer lower, polymer frame, but it is a big, weighty gun nevertheless, and it does feel really satisfying to hold that in your hand, especially if you're used to something like a more slimline kind of 1911 or the kind of ergonomically shaped kind of VP9, which is another really, really handsome gun. When you pick up the HK USP, certainly this blowback version by Umarex, it really does feel like you've got something more powerful in your hand than a 4.5mm BB shooting CO2 powered replica air pistol. It does have quite a high bore axis, which doesn't really mean an awful lot to us shooting air guns. The bore axis thing is the kind of the height of the actual barrel above where your kind of hand is. So it's kind of similar to something like, pop that there. What else have I got here? Yes, if you get like a SIG like this SP 2022, you can see that height there, that bore axis is quite high because the barrel sits quite high above where the gun is held. And some people would say a high bore axis is not a good thing, because when the slide reciprocates, it creates more of a knock-up of your gun like that, then on something like a Glock, you can see that your hand is really nice and high up there. The kind of the barrel is right just sitting on the top of where your hand is. So more of the kind of blowback or more of the recoil is fed in the direct kind of line with your arm. So the direction goes kind of straight back like that, rather than something as big as that. And it's when it's sliding back, you can see that it's quite a big distance between that and your hand. So as you're shooting, you're going to be tempted to sort of, the recoil is going to knock up your hand a bit more. These don't have that kind of power of kick, the air guns. It's good to have a bit of that kind of simulated recoil with the blowback. I do like that on these, and that is the USP is a fully blowback gun, so that's a good thing. What else can I tell you? Oh yeah, I mentioned this in the review. When it comes to the mag, obviously you've got your kind of trigger guard mag release here. Yeah, I don't think it's spring loaded, but there's enough weight in that mag to make it drop out. You don't have a cutout for the BBs, so when you'll have to kind of bring the follower back a bit further, and there's an opening there for your BBs to go into, but it's not a designated kind of circular cutout. But nevertheless, the magazine does a really good job. And as I said, it's field strippable, so let's take it down, shall we, while we're here. Field strip's very similar actually to a 1911. You kind of, so if you drop your mag out and you get your slide, and there's this little notch here, you want to just make sure that, if you can see, that lines up with that there. Yeah, you can see where the lever kind of lines up, and on the other side you've got this little button to press in. So you get it lined up, push that through from the other side, and take out, let me just push that through again, sorry, push it through, that's it, and take that out. Then you can release the slide and it'll just slide off like that, and you're kind of down to the composite parts of the pistol itself. When you're in this position, you can take out your, that flips up as well, you can take out your kind of your guide rod, and you've got your barrel exposed there. You can take your barrel out. All very straightforward, easy to do. Interestingly enough, if you look at this kind of guy rod and this, what kind of serves the kind of the recoil or the blowback on the gun, it also has a double spring, just like the actual USP. It's not a single spring down there. They have this other shorter spring at the rear point there. I don't know if that serves any function other than to look the part, or if it does anything at all. Again, I'm not an expert in these guns. I've not built them. I don't know everything about them, but you might explain if you know more than me about that. Is it just there to be part of the kind of the authenticity of the gun, that extra spring there? I can't imagine it doing an awful lot in a CO2 gun. Actually, let's have a look at the Glock, because the Glock also, from the Gen 4, and this is the Gen 4 BB version. Keep my guns separate so I know what I'm doing. Let's keep Mr. Self-loading pistol over there and Mr. Glock over here. This is very easy, really easy to take down. You just use these kind of tabs at either side here. I'm all fingers and thumbs today. Just get that. There we go. It would be really great if, yeah, look at that. So again, that's like a two-stage spring as well. You've got the smaller spring at the back there and that larger spring there. It's the things I just haven't noticed about these guns. This is why it's such a great hobby. You just pick things up. So it's very accurate to the actual mechanism in the gun. Although it's not going to be 100%, you get that sense of it being quite a credible reproduction, or quite a credible replica, if you will. Let me know about that if you know more about it, if you know if that serves any function on the actual airgun itself. Like I said, I enjoy shooting these things and I really enjoy looking at them and talking to you about them. But in terms of exactly how every element of it works, I've still got some educating to do. So let me know. Get in touch. Let's put this back together again, shall we? Right, where am I? Yes. So put that back there. We'll get him put back in there. Right, not loaded, good. Very good. Let's get Mr. Glock out of the way and let's reassemble Mr. USP. Okay, so let's get our, that's quite a handy little rod there. So you can pop that in and that will stay out of the way while you kind of get your guide rod back in and through. And then that'll drop down and you can just release it back onto there like so. Like so. Sounds like a cookery show, doesn't it? Bring that back to there and just to that sweet spot. Drop your lever in and you are ready to rock and roll. Really lovely gun. HK USP by Umarex. Another great fully functioning replica. Add it to your collection, save up for it, get your hands on one because they do feel really good in the hand. And again, it's one of those kind of iconic guns. You know, I talk about the 1911, I talk about the Beretta 92, talk about the single action army and so on and so forth. But the USP, it's so prolific in armed forces and military use, civilian use, private use across the world. A very well thought of and quite a handsome gun. Again, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so I do like the fact that it's got a working hammer on it. You know, got nothing against a striker-fired pistol, but I like the fact that you've got a bit of a hammer. I like the profile of a gun, like the 1911. Once you've got that slide racked and it looks ready for action, and if you're a fan of the 1911, you can carry it in condition one as well, like that, cocked and locked, as I said before. Have a look at the HK USP. Giving you a bit more information about it there. This isn't all information, as I said before, that I'm, you know, just spurts out of me. It's stuff that I've read about and stuff that I've heard people say along the way. But hopefully I've brought a bit of information all into one place for you. We've had another look at that lovely gun, HK USP. Thanks for your time. Please do take care, as always. Stay safe. All the very best to all of you. Keep those comments coming. I really do appreciate them. I really appreciate your support for the channel, and I appreciate you spending your time with me. All the best.